come down that elevator, but to understand what happened that afternoon and why that elevator changed everything, you need to go back 25 years to a woman, a food cart, and a bowl of pepper soup that saved a boy's life. She had been on that corner for 15 years, and not once had she ever stepped foot inside that hotel. Until today. Her name was Mama Abeni. In the year 2009, and on the corner of Peachtree Street and Baker Street in downtown Atlanta, she set up a small food cart for the very first time. She sold pepper soup, rich, spicy goat meat pepper soup that could warm you from the inside out on the coldest night in Georgia. She also sold fried plantain, golden and crispy, and soft puff dusted with powdered sugar. The cart was nothing special. A metal box on wheels with a faded umbrella tied to the side. She had scraped together $400 to buy it from a man who sold hot dogs outside the Greyhound station. That corner sat right across from the Meridian Grand, one of the most expensive hotels in Atlanta. 42 floors of glass and steel, a rooftop bar that overlooked the entire city, valet parking full of Rolls Royces and Bentleys, and right there across the street, Mama Abeni, in a cotton dress and rubber sandals, stirring a pot of pepper soup over a small gas burner. The hotel guests would walk past her like she didn't exist. Some would wrinkle their noses when the aroma drifted across the street, that rich, peppery smell of Scotch bonnet and slow-cooked goat meat curling through the air and slipping through the lobby doors every time someone walked in. A few guests complained to the staff about it, but Mama Abeni never bothered anyone. She kept her corner clean. She smiled at every person who passed by. And she cooked some of the best food in the entire city of Atlanta. The construction workers knew it. The taxi drivers knew it. The nurses coming off 12-hour shifts at Grady Memorial Hospital knew it. If you had $10 and an empty stomach, Mama Abeni would fill your bowl until it overflowed. And if you only had $5, she would fill it the same way. "You eat first," she would always say. "We figure out the rest later." That was Mama Abeni. Every single day, rain or shine, summer heat or winter cold, she was on that corner, cooking, serving, smiling. But the hotel across the street never smiled back. She carried more pain than anyone on that sidewalk could see, and she carried it without making a single sound. Mama Abeni was born in Lagos, Nigeria. She came to America in 1985 with her husband, a mechanic named Tunde. They settled in Atlanta because Tunde had a cousin who promised him work. For 5 years, things were good. Tunde fixed cars. Abeni cleaned houses. They rented a small apartment in East Point and saved every penny they earned. Then Tunde died. A heart attack at 41 years old. Right there in the garage. No warning. No goodbye. Abeni was alone. No children, no family in America. Just a woman in a foreign country with $200 in a coffee can and a husband in the ground. She could have gone back to Lagos, but she didn't. She stayed. She cleaned more houses. She worked longer hours. And she survived. Then one evening in the fall of 1999, everything changed. That night, she heard a sound that would change the rest of her life. And it came from the darkest alley on Campbellton Road. Abeni was walking home from a cleaning job in Buckhead when she heard crying. Not regular crying. The kind that sounds like it has been going on for hours. The kind that has no hope left in it. She followed the sound to an alley behind a laundromat on Campbellton Road. And there he was, a boy, 7 years old, and sitting on a pile of flattened cardboard boxes. His clothes were torn. His shoes had holes in them. His face was swollen from crying, and he was shaking so hard his teeth were chattering. "Child," Abeni said softly, "where is your mother?" The boy looked up at her with the biggest brown eyes she had ever seen. "She's gone," he whispered. "She went to sleep and didn't wake up." His name was Jelani. His mother, a Senegalese woman named Mariama, had died 2 days before. An overdose. Jelani had stayed in the apartment with her body for almost 48 hours before a neighbor called the police. By the time the ambulances came, Jelani had run. He didn't trust the uniforms. He didn't trust anyone. But something about this woman with the kind eyes and the soft voice made him stop shaking. "Are you hungry?" Abeni asked. Jelani nodded. She took his hand. She walked him 6 blocks to her apartment. She sat him down at her small kitchen table, and she did the only thing she knew how to do for someone who was hurting. She cooked. She made him a bowl of pepper soup, hot, rich broth with tender pieces of goat meat and chunks of soft yam, steam curling up past his face like a warm hand on a cold night. She set it down in front of him with a spoon and a thick piece of bread, and she sat across from him and watched him eat like he hadn't seen food in days. Because he hadn't. That night, Jelani slept in Abeni's bed. She slept on the floor. And from that moment on, he was hers. He was the kind of boy who didn't just receive love. He studied it. He memorized it. And he swore he would return every single drop. She never formally adopted him, and the paperwork was too complicated and too expensive. But she enrolled him in school under her name. She bought him clothes from the Goodwill on Moreland Avenue. She packed his lunch every single morning. She helped him with his homework every single night. And she worked. Lord, did that woman work. 3 cleaning jobs, 7 days a week. She scrubbed toilets at a Holiday Inn off the interstate. She mopped floors at a doctor's office in Decatur. She washed dishes at a barbecue restaurant on Cascade Road. All of it. So that Jelani could have what she never had. A chance. Jelani was brilliant. Not just smart, brilliant. By the time he was 12, his teachers were calling Abeni to tell her that her son, they all called him her son, was reading at a college level. By 15, he had won a science fair, a math competition, and a full scholarship to a magnet school in Midtown Atlanta. Abeni would sit in the back row of every school event. She didn't own fancy clothes. She wore the same 3 dresses she had worn for years. But she clapped louder than any other parent in the room. And when Jelani walked across that stage, she cried every single time. "Mama, stop crying," Jelani would say, laughing. "These are not sad tears," she would answer. "These are receipts. God is showing me that my investment is growing." When Jelani turned 18, he received a full academic scholarship to Emory University. The day the acceptance letter arrived, Abeni held it in her hands and stared at it so long that Jelani thought something was wrong. "Mama, are you okay?" She looked up, tears rolling down her face. Your mother would be so proud of you." "You are my mother," Jelani said, and he meant every word. He studied business at Emory, then earned a master's degree at Georgia Tech. At 24, he landed a job at a commercial real estate firm in Buckhead. He was the youngest analyst they had ever hired. Within 2 years, he was managing a property portfolio worth $300 million. But here is what nobody at that firm knew. Every Friday night, Jelani drove down to East Point. He sat at Mama Abeni's kitchen table. She made him a bowl of her pepper soup, the same recipe, the same pot, the same love she had put into that very first bowl 20 years before. And he told her everything about his week, every deal, every meeting, every win. "Mama, one day I'm going to buy you a house," he told her once. She waved her hand. I don't need a house. I need you to keep being the man I raised." "I'm going to buy you more than a house," Jelani said quietly. "I'm going to make sure no one ever looks past you again." She didn't understand what he meant. Not then. Now, if you are following this story and you want to see what Jelani does with all that quiet power, tap that subscribe button right now. Because what happens inside this hotel is something nobody in that lobby saw coming. Someone had just bought the Meridian Grand, and not a single person inside that building knew who they were working for now. By the time Jelani turned 28, he had left his firm and started his own company, Bankole Capital Partners. a real estate investment company that acquired commercial properties across the Southeast, hotels, office towers, shopping centers. In 4 years, the portfolio crossed $2 billion. Jelani Bankole became one of the wealthiest young men in Atlanta, and almost nobody knew his face. He didn't do interviews. He didn't attend galas. He didn't post on social media. His lawyers handled everything. His name appeared on legal documents, but his photograph appeared nowhere. He was a ghost with a checkbook, and he preferred it that way. In the spring of 2024, the hotel industry in Atlanta was buzzing with one story. The Meridian Grand had been acquired in a private deal worth $420 million. No press conference, no announcement, just a quiet transfer of ownership through 3 layers of holding companies. Nobody knew who the new owner was. Rumors flew through the hotel hallways. Some staff said it was a Saudi prince. Others whispered it was a tech billionaire from Silicon Valley. A few guessed it was a famous rapper who wanted to turn the rooftop bar into a nightclub. Nobody knew the truth. But Jelani knew exactly what he was going to do with that hotel. He had known for years. The line between confidence and cruelty is thinner than most people think. And Vanessa Quarti had crossed it a long time ago. The general manager of the Meridian Grand was a woman named Vanessa Quarti, 44 years old, Ghanaian by heritage. Born and raised in Silver Spring, Maryland, she had managed the Meridian Grand for the last 6 years. She was sharp, she was polished, and she was absolutely ruthless. Vanessa ran that hotel like a kingdom, and she was the queen. Every doorman feared her, every housekeeper avoided her eyes, and every front desk agent held their breath when she walked through the lobby. She wore designer suits and 6-inch heels that clicked against the marble floor like a countdown to someone's worst day. "This hotel is a reflection of me," she told her staff during Monday morning meetings, "and I do not reflect anything less than perfection." Vanessa had one obsession above everything else: image, and anything, or anyone, that threatened the image of the Meridian Grand had to be removed. For years, she had tried to get rid of Abeni's food cart. She called the city. She complained to the previous owners. She sent security guards across the street to tell the old woman to move. But Mama Abeni had a legal, city-issued sidewalk vending permit. And every time Vanessa tried to push her out, the law pushed right back. That woman and her little pot of soup make this hotel look like a bus station," Vanessa said to Derek, her head of security, at least once a week. Derek was a big man, 6'4", 260 pounds. He didn't like confrontation. He did his job. He followed orders. "She's not on our property," Derek would remind her gently. "She's on my sidewalk," Vanessa would snap. Same thing. Now, with new ownership in place, Vanessa used the uncertainty to tighten her grip. She promoted people who feared her and fired people who questioned her. She cut housekeeping bonuses. She shortened lunch breaks from 30 minutes to 15. And she put a new policy in writing. No staff member was to interact with street vendors near the property. Any violation meant immediate termination. That rule was aimed at one person. And every employee knew it. Her name was Sade. Sade Owusu was 26 years old, a housekeeper. She had moved to Atlanta from Accra, Ghana, 3 years earlier. She was quiet, hard-working, and painfully shy. Every morning before her shift, Sade would cross the street and buy a bowl of pepper soup from Mama Abeni's cart. They would talk for a few minutes. Abeni would ask about her family back home. Sade would ask about Abeni's day. It was a small thing, but in a city that could feel enormous and lonely, those minutes meant the world to both of them. "You remind me of my sister's daughter," Mama Abeni told her once. "Same smile, same gentle spirit." Sade blushed. "And you remind me of my grandmother. She cooked just like you, with love in every spoonful." When Vanessa's new rule came down, Sade was devastated. "You are not to speak to that woman," Vanessa told her directly. Her voice was ice. "Not before your shift, not after, not ever. If I see you at that cart one more time, you will be terminated on the spot. Do you understand me?" Sade nodded. Her eyes were wet. But she didn't argue. She couldn't afford to lose this job. Her work visa depended on it. But the very next morning, Said still bought her soup. She just ate it in the back stairwell where no cameras could see her. Mama Abeni noticed the change right away. "Why are you rushing today, child?" "I'm fine, Mama. Just busy." Abeni studied her face. She saw the fear behind the girl's eyes. She recognized that fear. She had carried it herself for decades. The fear of a woman one wrong step away from losing everything. "Said," Mama Abeni said gently, "if that job is hurting your spirit, the soup is always free for you." Said almost broke down right there on the sidewalk. She squeezed Mama Abeni's hand, turned quickly, and walked into the hotel before the tears could fall. Vanessa was watching from the second-floor window. Her jaw tightened. "I warned that girl," she muttered. The rain started at noon, and it brought something with it that nobody inside that hotel was ready for. June 14th, a Thursday. The sky over Atlanta turned the color of iron. Dark clouds stacked on top of each other like a wall. The rain didn't build slowly. It came all at once, a sheet of water that turned Peachtree Street into a shallow river in minutes. Mama Abeni was on her corner when it hit. She scrambled to cover her pots. She yanked the tarp over the cart. But the wind was too strong, and the umbrella snapped at the joint. The tarp ripped away and flew into the street, and the rain came pouring down on everything she had spent the morning cooking. She stood there in the downpour, 65 years old, soaked completely through, her dress clinging to her body, her gray hair pressed flat against her head. She gripped the handles of her cart with both hands because the wind was trying to drag it off the curb. She looked across the street at the Meridian Grand. Warm golden light glowing through the lobby windows. Marble floors shining. Guests lounging in leather chairs with glasses of wine. Dry, comfortable, safe. She just needed to get out of the rain. That was all. Just for a few minutes. Just until the worst of it passed. She picked up one sealed container of pepper soup and walked across the street. She pushed through the heavy revolving door of the Meridian Grand Hotel for the first time in her life. The lobby was enormous. White marble in every direction. A crystal chandelier the size of a small car hung from the ceiling 3 stories above. The air smelled like vanilla and sandalwood. Soft piano music drifted from somewhere in the corner. Guests sat in deep velvet chairs, scrolling their phones, sipping cocktails. Bellhops in crisp uniforms glided past with polished brass luggage carts. And standing in the middle of it all, a 65-year-old woman in a soaking wet cotton dress, clutching a warm container of pepper soup, dripping rainwater onto the marble floor. Every single eye in that lobby turned toward her. She stood perfectly still near the revolving door. She didn't walk toward the front desk. She didn't sit down. She just stood there. Out of the rain, breathing hard, trying to steady herself. A young front desk agent named Marcus looked at her with soft eyes. He reached under the counter for a clean towel, but before he could take a single step, the clicking started. Click, 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 click. Vanessa's heels on the marble, coming fast from the corridor behind the front desk, each click sharper than the one before. She stopped exactly 10 feet from Mama Abeni. "What?" Vanessa said, her voice slicing through the piano music like a blade. "Is this?" Mama Abeni looked at her. Water dripped from her chin to the floor. "I am sorry, ma'am. I just need to stand here for a few minutes. The rain is very—" "I didn't ask about the rain." Vanessa's voice was loud enough for every guest in the lobby to hear. I asked what you are doing inside my hotel." "I just need to—" "You need to leave. Right now." Vanessa stepped closer. She looked Mama Abeni up and down. "You and your little container of whatever that is. This is a 5-star hotel. You are not a guest. You are not a customer. You are a street vendor who sells soup out of a pot on the sidewalk, and you do not belong in this building." The lobby went dead silent. The piano stopped. Guests stared. A woman in a white fur coat lowered her champagne glass. A businessman near the window set down his newspaper. Marcus stood frozen behind the front desk, the towel still in his hand. Mama Abeni's voice was quiet. "I am not causing any trouble. I just need to wait until the rain passes. Please." "Please?" Vanessa repeated the word like it disgusted her. She turned to Derek. Get her out." Derek hesitated. He looked at the old woman standing in a puddle of her own rainwater. "Vanessa, she's just trying to—" "I said get her out. Now. Do your job, or I will find someone who will." Derek walked toward Mama Abeni slowly. "Ma'am," he whispered, "I'm sorry. You have to go." "Please," Mama Abeni said. "Just a few more minutes." "Derek!" Vanessa snapped her fingers at Cole, the second guard. "Help him! Right now!" Cole grabbed Mama Abeni's other arm. The container of pepper soup slipped from her fingers and hit the marble floor with a crack. The lid popped off. Hot broth, rich, red-orange, flecked with oil and Scotch bonnet seeds, spread across the white tile in a vivid streak. Pieces of tender goat meat slid across the polished floor. The sharp aroma of pepper and spice filled the entire lobby in seconds. "No!" Mama Abeni cried out. "My soup! Please, my soup!" They dragged her across the lobby floor. Her wet rubber sandals squeaked against the marble. Her dress left a dark trail of water behind her. Guests watched. Some turned away. Others raised their phones. Vanessa walked behind them with her arms folded. "And someone clean that filth off my floor before a guest slips. Use the disinfectant. I don't want any smell lingering." They pushed through the front doors. The rain was still hammering. Cole released her arm. Derek let go. Mama Abeni stumbled forward on the wet sidewalk. She caught herself on a parking meter with both hands. Barely stayed on her feet. Her cart was across the street, still in the rain. One of her large pots had tipped over from the wind. Pepper soup pooled on the concrete, swirling into the rainwater and flowing into the gutter. Mama Abeni stood there in the downpour, 65 years old, alone, her food destroyed, her dignity stripped away in front of a room full of strangers. Inside the lobby, behind a marble pillar near the elevator bank, Sade had watched every second. Her hand was pressed over her mouth. Tears were streaming down her face. Vanessa smoothed the front of her jacket and started walking back toward her office, heels clicking, steady, confident. She was halfway down the corridor when she heard a sound that stopped her dead in her tracks. Ding. That sound changed everything, and not a single person in that lobby was ready for what stepped out. The private elevator, the one that traveled directly to the owner's penthouse suite on the 42nd floor, and the one with brushed gold doors that no one had seen open in months, the one that required a key card that only one person on Earth possessed. It opened. A man stepped out. He was tall, 6'2", early 30s. His skin was deep and dark, rich as black coffee. He wore a charcoal gray suit, custom-tailored, perfectly fitted. A crisp white dress shirt underneath, open at the collar. No tie. His shoes were polished so well they reflected the chandelier. His jaw was sharp and set. His eyes were darker than midnight, and they were locked on the front doors of the hotel. He didn't speak to anyone. He walked across the lobby, each step slow and deliberate. His eyes moved from the pepper soup on the marble floor, to the trail of water leading to the revolving door, to the guests with their phones raised, to Marcus, and who was gripping the front desk like it was keeping him upright. Marcus recognized him instantly. He had seen the man's photograph once, in a confidential email sent to senior leadership 3 weeks earlier. Subject line, "New owner, confidential, do not distribute." This was Jelani Bancole, the owner of the Meridian Grand Hotel. "Sir, Mr. Bancole, Jelani didn't look at him. He walked straight to the revolving door, pushed through it, and stepped out into the rain. His Tom Ford suit was drenched in 3 seconds flat. Rain poured down his face, his neck, soaking through the white shirt to his skin. He didn't slow down. he didn't flinch. Because across the street, standing next to a broken food cart with pepper soup running into the gutter, I was the only person in the world who had ever made him feel like he was worth something. "Mama!" His voice cut through the rain like thunder. Mama Abeni looked up. Her eyes were red. Her hands were shaking. The rain had washed away her tears, but the hurt was sitting right there on her face. She squinted through the downpour. A tall man in a dark suit, running toward her, soaking wet, arms reaching. For a moment, she didn't recognize him. It had been months since she had seen his face. He had told her he was traveling for business. He called every Sunday night the way he always did. But she hadn't seen him. He stopped right in front of her, rain hammering both of them, and Jelani dropped to his knees, right there on the sidewalk, his $5,000 suit pressed against the soaking wet concrete. And he took both of her hands in his. "Mama," he said, and his voice broke right down the middle. "What did they do to you?" That's when she saw him, really saw him. Those same big brown eyes from the alley 25 years ago. The same boy on the cardboard boxes, shaking, crying, with nobody in the world. "Jelani," she whispered. He pressed his forehead against her hands. "I'm here, Mama. I'm right here." What are you doing here?" He looked over his shoulder, through the silver curtain of rain, at the Meridian Grand. All 42 floors of glass and steel, the glowing lobby, the chandelier, the marble, everything. "I bought it, Mama." "Bought what?" "The hotel, Mama. I bought it. For you." Mama Abeni stared at him. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. Her knees buckled, and Jelani caught her instantly and held her up with both arms right there in the middle of Peachtree Street. "No," she whispered. "No, no, no." "Yes, Mama. It's yours. Every floor, every room, every single brick." She lifted her trembling hands to his face. She held his cheeks the way she had done when he was a boy. "You are my son," she said, her voice cracking. "You don't owe me anything." "I owe you everything," Jelani said. "And today, I am going to make sure every single person in this city knows it." He stood up. He slipped off his soaking suit jacket and draped it over her shoulders. Then he took her hand, the same hand that had taken his 25 years ago on a dark street outside a laundromat, and he walked her across the street, back through the revolving door, back into the lobby of the Meridian Grand Hotel. He had one thing left to say, and it was going to bring that entire lobby to its knees. Every eye turned to them. Marcus, the guests, the bellhops, the woman in the fur coat, every phone that had been recording, every person who had watched a 65-year-old woman get dragged across this floor and had done nothing. Jelani walked Mama Abeni to the center of the lobby. She was still dripping, still in her cotton dress, still in her rubber sandals. His jacket hung over her shoulders like a cape. He turned to face the room. "My name is Jelani Bankole." His voice was calm, but it carried to every corner of that lobby. "I am the owner of this hotel." Silence. Complete. Absolute. "This woman is my mother. She raised me when no one else in this world would. She fed me when I was starving. She worked 3 jobs so I could go to school. She gave me every single thing I have in this life." His jaw tightened hard. "And 20 minutes ago, someone in this building dragged her across this floor like she was garbage and threw her out into the rain." His eyes moved to the pepper soup still glistening on the marble, to the trail of water, to the container on its side by the revolving door. "Who gave that order?" Nobody moved. I said, "Who gave the order?" Then came the click of heels. Slow this time. Not confident. Just slow. Vanessa appeared from the hallway, her face the color of ash. "Mr. Bankole, Did you give the order?" "Sir, I had no idea she was connected to—" "Did you give the order?" "Yes, but I was only trying to protect the image of—" "No!" Jelani held up one hand. So there is no but. You dragged a 65-year-old woman across this floor in front of guests, you threw her into the rain, you let her food spill on the ground, and you did it with a smile on your face. Vanessa's mouth opened. Nothing came out. You're fired. 2 words, and they hit that lobby like a bomb. Vanessa's legs wobbled. She reached for the front desk. Mr. Bancole, please. I have given 6 years of my life to this hotel. 6 years. If you would just... You explained enough when you called her a street vendor who sells soup out of a pot. His voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. He turned to Derek, standing near the security office with his head bowed. You had one job. Protect people. All people. Not just the ones wearing designer shoes. He paused. You're done too. Derek nodded once. He didn't argue. Arjelani faced the room again. His voice softened, but it filled even more space. When I was 7 years old, my mother died. I had no father, no family. I slept on cardboard. I ate out of trash cans. And one night, this woman found me in an alley. She had never seen me before. She didn't know my name. She didn't owe me a single thing. He looked at Mama Abeni. She was crying silently. The kind of crying that makes no sound because the emotion is too deep for noise. But she took my hand. She brought me home. And she made me a bowl of pepper soup. That bowl of soup saved my life. And she has been feeding people the same way every single day for 25 years. For me. For strangers. For anyone who is hungry. Because she has never turned a single person away. He pulled a white envelope from the inside pocket of the jacket draped over her shoulders. Mama, I didn't buy this hotel because it was a smart investment. I bought it because of you. 15 years you cooked on that corner across the street. And for 15 years, the people inside this building looked at you through those windows like you were beneath them. He unfolded a document. This is the deed to the ground floor restaurant space. 12,000 square feet. A full commercial kitchen. Seating for 200 guests. He held it up. As of today, this restaurant is called Mama Abeni's Kitchen, and it belongs to you. The lobby erupted. Guests rose to their feet. Marcus dropped the radio he had been holding. From behind the marble pillar, Said came running, sobbing, clapping, her voice breaking into pure sound. Mama Abeni took the document with both trembling hands. The words swam through her tears. Jelani, this is too much. No, Mama. He shook his head. It is not enough. It will never be enough. He turned and looked at Said. You, come here. Said approached. She could barely walk straight. I know what you did, Jelani said. I know you bought soup from her cart every morning even after they told you to stop. I know you hid in the stairwell to eat so no one would catch you. I know you risked your job, your visa, everything you have, for her. Said couldn't speak. She just nodded. You are the new general manager of this hotel. Said's knees gave out. She grabbed the front desk with both hands. What? You heard me. This hotel needs someone who sees people, all people, has someone who leads with kindness and not with fear. That person is you. Said looked at Mama Abeni through a wall of tears. The old woman opened her arms wide. Said fell into them. 2 women, holding each other, sobbing, right there in the center of the most expensive hotel lobby in Atlanta. Vanessa watched from the edge of the hallway. Mr. Bancole, I am begging you. Please. Jelani did not turn around. Security will walk you to your office. You have 15 minutes to collect your things. A new security guard appeared. He gestured toward the corridor. Vanessa looked around the lobby one last time. At the guests, at Marcus, at Said, standing exactly where Vanessa had stood for 6 years. Then she turned and walked away, her heels clicking on the marble one final time, getting softer and softer and softer, until they were gone. 3 months later, Mama Abeni's Kitchen opened on the ground floor of the Meridian Grand. 12,000 square feet of warm light, white tablecloths, and fresh flowers on every table. Floor-to-ceiling windows looked out onto Peachtree Street, right across from where her cart had sat for 15 years. The menu featured every dish she had ever made on that sidewalk. Her famous goat meat pepper soup, fried plantain, puff puff, egusi soup, suya skewers, pounded yam with ogbono. Every bowl, prepared the same way she had always made them, with love in every spoonful. The restaurant was booked solid for 3 months straight. Food critics came from New York, Chicago, and Los Angeles. And the Atlanta Journal-Constitution called it the most important restaurant to open in this city in a decade. A celebrity chef flew in to taste her pepper soup. He took 1 spoonful, closed his eyes, set the spoon down. "This," he said quietly, "is what food is supposed to taste like." Mama Abeni worked in that kitchen every single day. She wore a white chef's coat with her name embroidered in gold thread on the chest. Underneath the counter, she still wore her rubber sandals. "Some things," she said, "don't need changing." Sade ran the hotel with a grace that Vanessa never could have understood. She brought back the housekeeping bonuses on her first day. She restored lunch breaks to 30 minutes. She learned every staff member's name, their children's names, and their birthdays. Under her leadership, and the Meridian Grand earned its first 5-diamond rating in over a decade. Marcus was promoted to front desk manager. His first official act was placing a standing order with Mama Abeni's kitchen. Every staff member received a free hot meal during their shift. Every single day. No exceptions. Jelani never put his name on the restaurant. He never gave a single interview about it. When guests asked who owned the hotel, the staff would smile and say, "Ask the woman in the kitchen." And Mama Abeni would wave from behind the counter, a wooden spoon in one hand and a smile so wide it could light up every floor of that building. On the wall of the restaurant, near the entrance, there is a single framed photograph. It shows a small boy sitting at a tiny kitchen table in a cramped apartment in East Point, Georgia. His eyes are big and brown. Both hands grip a steaming bowl of soup, and across from him sits a woman in a faded cotton dress, watching him eat with more love in her eyes than most people will experience in an entire lifetime. Below the photograph, in small gold letters, are 8 words. "She fed me when no one else would." And as for Vanessa Quarty, she applied to 3 luxury hotels in Atlanta within a month. All 3 rejected her. The videos from that afternoon had gone viral. 6 angles, 3 million views in 48 hours. She eventually found work managing a small business hotel in another state. 60 rooms, no chandelier, no marble, no private elevator. She answered to someone else every single day. Some people learn humility through wisdom, others learn it through consequence. Either way, the lesson always arrives. And here is what I want you to carry with you from this story tonight. The world will look past the Mama Abenis. It will step over them. It will drag them across marble floors and throw their food in the gutter and lock the doors behind them. But fate has a long memory. Longer than pride. Longer than cruelty. Longer than any of us. And the people who feed others when they have nothing left, those are the ones fate is watching the closest. Mama Abeni didn't know she was raising a billionaire that night in 1999. She wasn't thinking about returns on her investment. She was just feeding a hungry child. That was all she knew how to do. And that was enough. It was more than enough. It was everything. If this story moved something inside you tonight, if you felt it when Jelani dropped to his knees in that rain, then you already understand why you are here. Subscribe to this channel and ring that notification bell, because in these stories the proud are always brought low, and the ones who serve with love and ask for nothing in return, they are always, always lifted to the highest seat in the room. Fate never forgets, and neither do we.
Años exactamente, bueno, no exactamente, ¿no? Un grupo de soñadores en La Paz decidió fundar algo que trascendería generaciones. El glorioso Club Bolívar. No imaginaron que... Oye, me he esforzado al hacer el discurso. ¿Qué ponen ZZ, chat? Basta, me he esforzado, se los juro que me he esforzado, bro, basta. Por favor, me he esforzado en el discurso, respéteme un poquito, chat. Bueno, igual lo voy a leer, me la chupan, la verdad. Chat, nefastos. Son unos envidiosos, ¿saben? Son unos envidiosos. ¿En qué me quedé? No imaginaron que ese nombre se convertiría en un sinónimo de grandeza, lucha y de orgullo nacional. 101 años después, Bolívar no es solo un club, es un sentimiento que se hereda, que se sufre y se celebra. Últimamente sufrimos mucho por Robato, ¿no? Es el latido de miles de hinchas que en cada victoria y en cada caída nunca abandonan, ¿verdad? Nomás. Porque ser celeste no es una elección, es una forma de vivir. Muy bien, qué lindo, un aplauso. Bravo, bravo. Muchachos, tremendo discurso. Buenas noches, Edito, ¿cómo estás? Por lo menos ponte tu chompita, pues un busito para leer el discurso. A ver, cállate, Gabo, ¿vos quieres ser baneado? Este discurso lo he hecho en mi cama, pensando en lo que es ser bolivarista, la verdad. Un aplauso, por favor, y con ayuda también del gran ChatGPT. Un aplauso para ChatGPT. Ah, ¿cuál era la finalización? De un ratito, dice. Que estos 101 años sean solo el comienzo de muchas más llenos de alegría. Felicidades, Academia. Felicidades, Bolívar. ¡Bravo! Aplausos para ChatGPT, muchachos. Para vos no, dice. Buenas noches, muchachos, ¿cómo están? Gracias por estar aquí, perdón por prender tan tarde. La verdad estaba viendo mi serie, estaba viendo el regreso de Justin Bieber. Bueno, toda la tarde me vi fútbol, hasta vi el partido del Tigre. Vi el partido de River, vi el partido de Oriente. Las declaraciones de Martins, tremendo lo de Martins, bebé, le tiró palo a Villegas, pero bien tirado. Huevada, en su cama lo hizo todo pajeado pensando en el... No, ¿qué dice este Arielito? Oye, ¿quiénes vamos, no? Mi sobrino de quién redacta mejor. Dile eso a ChatGPT, yo no he redactado. ¿Qué me estás molestando a mí? Felicidades. Qué pasado. Pues la verdad nomás. ¿Qué quieren que les diga? A ver, ¿qué les puedo decir, muchachos? Yo no publiqué nada en mi página, la verdad no hice nada estos días. Han sido momentos difíciles. Bien triste, ¿no? Mentira. Pero no, muchachos, bueno. Quiero felicitar a todos los que son bolivaristas. Y hoy en día más que nunca, ¿no? Que es difícil ser bolivarista. En el sentido de todo el contexto que estamos pasando con el técnico. Pero si lo ven por el otro lado también, hay que sentirnos orgullosos porque hemos llegado a estos 101 años. Creo que como la institución mejor parada, tanto económicamente, futbolísticamente y dirigencialmente diría, pero no, creo que no, ahí nos falta, ¿no? Ese eslabón para poder ser una institución sólida. Y como ayer creo que lo decía Dardo Gómez en su publicación en el Cholet, que Dios mío, ¿de dónde cagan tanta plata, bebés? Más fuegos pirotécnicos que en el aniversario de La Paz, no mames. Tremendo, felicidades a los del Cholet, y a ver si pasan pues algunos monies. No, mentira. Que dijo que el dirigente tiene que estar siempre al lado del hincha, y eso es mucha verdad, y no es por darle palo a Claure, porque él tendrá sus funciones, las cosas que tienen que hacer, pero creo que por esa parte que estoy... Uy, ¿qué? No, todavía no va a arrancar la fiesta, Tucán, tranquilo. y por esa parte creo que está bien, ¿no? Está bien, y bueno, se vienen unas futuras elecciones, donde el principal candidato es Dardo Gómez, a seguir manejando lo que es este club tan bonito que es Bolívar, ¿no? Por detrás, obviamente, yo creo que tiene que haber gente que lo asesore. Espera, ¿mi gatita se echó pipí? No, ya, más bien. Me ha asustado, chicos, la verdad, me ha asustado. Ya saben ustedes, rayada está mi gatita últimamente, ¿no? No, ¿qué dice este Edipox? Y bueno, muchachos, nos espera, creo, un futuro grandioso. Yo lo dije, creo que esta es una oportunidad ya con el Stadium de una vez establecernos como un club de fútbol, pero serio, y fuera de ser autosostenible, que se proyecte a más, ¿me entiendes? No estancarnos en solo ser un club boliviano, sino ya empezar a soñar con, no sé, a ver, por ejemplo, la venta de butacas en el estadio, venta de marketing, merchandising, que se vaya ampliando más las sociedades, ¿me entienden? O sea, yo creo que si una cabeza maneja bien todo eso, creo que podemos despegar, ¿me entiendes? Y no estar ahí creando leyes de mierda con el gobierno, pidiendo perdón para que nos perdonen los impuestos, ¿no? Los gatos, ¿no? Entonces, creo que, o ser un club que está a punto de desaparecer, como Wilstermann, que desapareció de la liga, pero está a punto de desaparecer, pero absolutamente de todo el fútbol. O ser clubes que le están mangueando el auspicio a la UTV y chupándosela al presidente de la federación por subsistir. Entonces, creo que Bolívar es muy grande y tiene, creo que, trascender. Eso es lo que nos falta, trascender, dar ese pasito para trascender y lograr los objetivos que siempre hemos querido, ya sea una Copa Sudamericana o una Copa Libertadores, ¿no? Y siempre tiene que ir de la mano. Estos últimos años, creo que es la verdad, se han ido alejando a las generaciones bolivaristas, al hincha común, al hincha fanático, a todos los tipos de hinchas se han ido alejando del club por justamente el mal trabajo que se ha ido realizando estos últimos años en Bolívar. ¿Qué decía Valdivia? Creo que dijo que dejó un club autosostenible. O sea, sí, no vamos a decir que no, ¿no? Económicamente creo que se dejó un club autosostenible. A ver, Solís, no pidas Gartic. Ya les he dicho qué cosa de Gartic. Hoy día es aniversario del club. Déjame hablar a ver de mi club, Solís. Igual en el grupo de WhatsApp, no Tucán, jugaremos Gartic, no quiero dibujar huevadas, déjame, no voy a jugar Gartic, ya les he dicho, si quieren dibujar, agarren un cuadernito y empiezan a dibujar sus huevadas, no me vengan a molestar a mí con su Gartic. Saludos Reyisita, ¿cómo estás? ¿Todo bien? Gartic, temática Bolívar, no, métanse su Gartic por el poto, ya les he dicho. Y bueno muchachos, ¿en qué estaba? Es que me niego, muchachos, cada vez Gartic, basta, no quiero jugar Gartic, vayan a jugar Gartic con sus minas. Goklingo, huevadas hablas, ya, espera, ¿qué habla este Ignacio Loza, este Auri? Y bueno muchachos, creo que sí, yo me quedo con eso. Este martes tenemos un partido muy importante en lo económico, para mí muy importante para ver qué está el club de cara a este año, porque creo que es indispensable ganarle a ese equipo. En Copa Libertadores, obviamente por los 3 puntos y más, pero pensando a futuro, creo que es muy importante que se vea buen fútbol, ¿no? Y que la gente ya esté un poquito más tranquila con el funcionamiento del equipo. Ayer contra Bebé, bueno, el día sábado contra Bebé, se jugó un buen partido, no digo que un malo partido, creo que empezaron a aparecer personas, o bueno, jugadores que no estaban apareciendo, como es el Papu Velázquez, y muchos más, ¿no? Entonces, interesante. Y bueno, apareció Cauterucho, que en el partido de Libertadores no había aparecido ni de sombra. Parece que Cauterucho solo le mete goles a equipos como ABB. Y preocupa un poquito eso, ¿no? Hoy ganó el Tigre, está puntero con nosotros. Nacional Potosí también está compartiendo la punta con nosotros. Y